Well, howdy. My name's Helen Carter, and I just celebrated my 70th birthday with a glass of sweet tea and some good sharp cheddar, which is about as wild as I get these days. I've got hips that sing when the weather changes and knees that creak like floorboards in a haunted house, but I've still got fire in me. More than most folks half my age. And oh honey, that fire's about to come in real handy. See, what most folks don't know is that I've spent the last 4 decades building something special. I started with a tiny roadside plant nursery when my husband passed, bless his messy, dream-chasing soul, and turned it into Seaside Haven Inn, a chain of 12 boutique garden lodges up and down the coast. Think white trellises, jasmine-covered walkways, hand-carved porch swings, and enough potted lavender to knock out a barn full of bees. It's my pride and joy, my life's work, my little empire of peace. But here's the funny part. My family doesn't have the first clue. My son Daniel thinks I run some volunteer flower club with retired librarians. I never corrected him, partly because I didn't want him to start sniffing around my business with his art gallery assistant's salary and designer coffee habit, and partly because, well, I wanted to be loved for me, not my money. Silly, I know. But a mother's heart doesn't always take the shortest route to common sense. Now, Daniel married Sabrina about 5 years ago. She's, how do I put this nicely? Polished. Like a showroom car no one ever drives. She's one of those yoga and almond milk types who calls herself a wellness strategist online but couldn't tell a compost pile from a couch cushion. We've never been close. She always looked at me like I was a dust bunny she couldn't quite reach with her vacuum. You know the type. Anyway, a couple months ago Daniel calls and says, "Mom, we're treating you to a family vacation. Just you, me, Sabrina, and the kids Lily and Owen." Now I know that voice. It's his "we need a favor but we're gonna upton about" tone. But he caught me off guard. I've been feeling a bit lonely if I'm being honest. My garden helpers all went back to school. And my book club started reading those steamy pirate novels I just can't get behind. I was craving some family time, maybe a hug or two that didn't involve wet dogs or rose thorns. So I asked where we were going, and Daniel says the name of this stunning little coastal retreat. And I just about spit out my cinnamon tea, because I knew that place. It was one of mine. Not just any of mine, one of my favorites. A glass-roofed greenhouse lodge tucked away between cliffs and wild sea oats. I hadn't visited in a few years, but the staff still sent holiday cards and updated me on the new herb garden and koi pond. And now my son, bless his sweet oblivious heart, was inviting me to stay there like it was his big idea. Well, I didn't say a word. I smiled to myself, said, "That sounds lovely, dear," and packed my bags like I was heading to Grandma's cottage instead of one of the crown jewels of my collection. I decided to go incognito. Just Helen. Not Helen Carter, founder and owner. I thought maybe, just maybe, I'd finally get to know Sabrina better. Maybe she'd see me as more than Daniel's quirky little mom. And I was excited to spend time with the grandkids too. Lily's always got her nose in a science book, and Owen builds wild castles out of couch cushions. I figured we'd splash in the pool, eat too many lemon bars, and maybe plant a few succulents together. Let me tell you, darling, I had stars in my eyes. But that sweet family vacation? It never showed up. We arrived at the inn on a warm, breezy afternoon. The kind where the air smells like honeysuckle and sunscreen. The entrance was just as I remembered, clean, cheerful, with white hydrangeas bursting out of every planter. Daniel was fiddling with the valet key, and Sabrina was adjusting her wide-brimmed sun hat like she was walking into a photo shoot. I was dragging my little overnight case behind me, polka dots and all, when we stepped into the lobby. Now here's where the curtain started to pull back. The front desk manager, Fiona, saw me and did a double take. She's worked at Seaside Haven for nearly a decade and knows me better than my own bridge club. But I gave her a tiny shake of my head, our unspoken code for play along, sweet pea. And bless her, she straightened right up and welcomed us with her usual sunny professionalism. But then Sabrina opened her mouth. Fiona had turned slightly toward me, probably just being polite, when Sabrina, without even lowering her sunglasses, snapped, "You don't need to speak to her. She's just our gardener or something." Now listen, I've been called a lot of things in my life. Some deserved, some not. But that hit like a cold slap from a wilted daisy. And Daniel? He just laughed. Laughed like it was the funniest thing he'd heard all day. I stood there, smile frozen, trying not to let my face crack like an overbaked cookie. Fiona looked horrified. I could tell she wanted to say something, but she caught my eye and stayed quiet. And in that moment, standing in the very lobby I designed down to the last potted fern, I realized something was very, very wrong. This wasn't a vacation. It was something else entirely. And honey, I may be 70, but I didn't get here by being stupid. I didn't say a word. Not yet. But I tucked that moment deep into my pocket, right next to my lip balm and my spare mint. Because I knew right then and there that Sabrina Hart was about to learn exactly who she was dealing with. And it wouldn't be on her schedule. Stay tuned, sweetheart. That was just the welcome mat. The moment we stepped inside the lodge, I felt it. That subtle shift in air that tells you you're not really wanted. Not in the way you hoped. I don't mean the front desk or the scent of eucalyptus in the lobby. I mean the way Sabrina's body language snapped shut the second I caught up to them. She walked 3 steps ahead with her oversized straw tote swinging like a weapon, rattling off spa times and juice cleanses while Daniel dragged behind her, nose already buried in his phone. I hadn't even had a chance to say how nice the drive was. Lily and Owen, both clutching their little tablets, barely glanced up from their screens. I gave them each a smile anyway. I thought maybe they're just tired from the trip. Maybe once we settle in, things will feel better. Then came check-in. Fiona was working the desk. Bless her sweet soul. She was just a college student the first time I hired her, back when she thought herbal tea came in only one flavor. Over the years, she'd grown into one of the sharpest team leaders I had. When she saw me, her eyes widened with surprise and kindness. But before she could say a word, I gave her the tiniest shake of my head. Just enough to say, "Not now." She caught on immediately. That's why I adore her. Daniel gave our reservation name, and Fiona pulled it up without skipping a beat. All professionalism. I stood just behind them, quietly admiring how well the lobby was kept. Marble polished, the indoor fountain bubbling away like a happy old friend. For a second, I let myself feel proud. But Sabrina? She couldn't stand not being the center of attention. "Is the penthouse ready?" she asked, already sounding annoyed. "We requested it months ago. I don't care if there's a wait list. Make it happen." Fiona, calm as ever, gently informed her that the penthouse was occupied, but that the deluxe garden suite, just 1 tier below, was available and already prepped with fresh flower arrangements. That's when it happened. Sabrina turned not to Daniel, not to Fiona, but straight to me. "Honestly," she said with a huff, "this is what happens when people like her are allowed to make suggestions." She waved a hand like I was part of the wallpaper, then turned back to Fiona and said, "Loud enough for the guests in the lounge to hear. Don't waste time talking to her. She's just the gardener. Not she's my mother-in-law. Not this is Helen. Not even this is Grandma. Just the gardener." The word hit me with a strange mix of disbelief and heartbreak. I'd spent a lifetime creating these gardens. Every potted fern, every sculpted shrub, every path winding through the coastal lavender. I planted them with my own hands or oversaw them like a conductor with her orchestra. And now I was just the gardener. "Daniel?" He laughed. Not a nervous chuckle. Not even a quiet eye roll. A full belly deep laugh. Like his wife had just delivered the punchline of a really good joke. I stood there frozen. Not because I was embarrassed. I've been embarrassed plenty of times in life. Once, I got locked out of my own greenhouse wearing a flamingo print nightgown and had to ask the mailman for help. No, this was worse. This was the kind of moment that leaves a bruise on your heart. Not from what was said, but from who said it and who didn't stop it. I didn't cry. Not in front of them. But I felt it. Like the air got too thick to breathe and the tiled floor turned slippery under my sensible flats. I kept my chin high and my lips pressed in a line. I thought about correcting her. I really did. But something told me this wasn't the moment. This wasn't the day. So I smiled at Fiona, who looked like she wanted to leap over the desk and hug me, and said, "The garden suite sounds lovely, dear." And I wheeled my little polka dot case right past them, like I had every right to be there. Because I did. Even if they couldn't see it. I lay there that night in the garden suite, staring up at the glow-in-the-dark stars I had once let my staff hang for the kids' sake. You know, those silly little things that shine just enough to keep a child from being scared. Only this time they weren't shining for me. Their laughter kept echoing in my mind. Sabrina's nasal little chuckle, Daniel's deep, careless laugh. The way he used to laugh when he was a boy and saw me come home from the market with popsicles. Only this time it wasn't joy in his voice. It was something else. Something I couldn't put words to without my throat tightening. It made me think back to all those moments I had brushed off. Like how Sabrina always corrected the kids if they called me grandma, insisting they use Helen instead. "It's more modern," she said. "Modern my foot. Since when did modern mean distant?" Or how Daniel never really let me hold the kids without some excuse. "Lily's cranky," or "Owen just ate." Always something. I chalked it up to parenting quirks. But now I wasn't so sure. Now it felt like I was just being managed. They treated me like a volunteer they couldn't get rid of. The next morning, Sabrina flounced into the lounge with her big straw hat and declared they were taking a spontaneous couples day to the botanical gardens. I nearly laughed. Spontaneous? The way she had her outfit planned, her travel mug filled with matcha, and her selfie stick at the ready, spontaneous my eye. She handed me a tote bag like I was the hired sitter and said, "Snacks are labeled. Lily doesn't do gluten and Owen is dairy sensitive after 2 p.m. No swimming unless supervised by a lifeguard. No screen time before lunch. And please make sure they wear the matching sun hats. I want photos for the calendar." I nodded. What else could I do? Arguing with Sabrina was like wrestling a greased pig. You'd end up tired, muddy, and still not holding anything useful. So off they went. I took the kids to the Inn's Creative Club, a program I designed myself years ago to give children a break from their screens and a place to explore their minds. It had stations for painting, nature walks, and even a little terrarium table where they could grow their own moss. Lily perked up instantly. Owen started gluing seashells onto cardboard like he was building a palace. And for the first time that trip I breathed easy. Until I went to return their sun hats to the lost and found bin behind the garden wall. That's where I heard it. Sabrina's voice. She was tucked away in one of the shaded pergolas, sitting with another couple I didn't recognize. One of those young pairs who dressed in matching linen and said things like coastal chic unironically. "She's getting old," Sabrina said, sipping from one of the resort's signature glasses. "I mean, she can't have that many years left. Once she's out of the picture, Daniel inherits whatever patch of land she clings to." There was a pause followed by soft laughter. Then Daniel's voice joined in. "She thinks she's some retired business genius," he said. "All she does is talk to her houseplants and label her jam jars like it's the 1940s. More laughter. From all of them. Like I was the punchline to a joke I never signed up for. I stood there behind the garden wall, knees trembling and heart beating like a hummingbird caught in a window pane. They weren't just laughing about me. They were planning for my absence. Like I was already gone. I wanted to storm around the corner, demand answers, throw one of those decorative pumpkins Sabrina insisted were rustically aesthetic, right into the koi pond. But I didn't. I walked away. Quietly. Down the side path, past the herb spiral, past the bees' corner, and into the storage shed near the compost bins. I sat behind 3 large bags of organic fertilizer and let the tears come. Because for all the years I spent growing gardens, I never expected to be the weed they couldn't wait to pull. By the next morning I had made up my mind. I wasn't going to sit around eating dry toast and swallowing my pride. No ma'am. I've been through too much, planted too many things with my bare hands, and pulled too many weeds to let myself be treated like one. So while Daniel and Sabrina flounced off to their smoothie tasting class or whatever event Sabrina had decided would get the best lighting, I pulled out my little notebook and did what I do best. I started planning. First call went to Morgan Blake, my estate lawyer and an old friend who's sharper than a thorn bush in August. I'd worked with him for over 15 years, and he'd helped me quietly put everything in place when I first decided not to tell my family about the business. Trusts, ownership filings, tax protections. I'd always hoped I'd never need the backup plan, but thank goodness I had it. "Morgan," I said, skipping the pleasantries, "I need a full financial audit on the credit cards Daniel's connected to. All of them. Personal and business." There was a pause, then his no-nonsense voice replied, "Is this about what I think it's about? You bet your law degree it is." Next, I called Alex Rivera, my operations manager. Alex is one of those people who remembers everything: dates, names, whether the tilapia tacos were too salty on a Tuesday in 2019. I asked him to start pulling logs. Who made requests, what charges were authorized, and whether any staff had reported issues. Then I rang up Fiona at the front desk. "Fiona, darling," I said, "I need you to start a little file for me. Quietly. I want you to write down every interaction you've had with Daniel and Sabrina since they arrived. Every request, every complaint, every raised eyebrow." Fiona, bless her, didn't even ask why. She just said, "Already started one." By noon, I had 3 people working behind the scenes, and the reports started trickling in. Oh honey, the things I saw. Spa treatments. Not 1, not 2, but 9 in 4 days. Seaweed wraps, hot stone massages, something called a chakra detox, that cost more than my monthly water bill. Sabrina had charged over $35,000 to my business account in less than a week. Boutique shopping sprees, beauty product deliveries, and an entire photo shoot, complete with a photographer flown in from out of town, for her wellness influencer blog. One invoice listed a stylist for her wardrobe changes and creative vision consultation. I about choked on my mint tea. Daniel was no better. Turns out he bought himself an antique painting kit. Not the kind you pick up at the craft store either. This thing came from a rare collector and cost more than I made in my first year running the nursery. Brushes made from imported badger hair, oil paints sealed in tiny gold tins, and a palette carved from olive wood. I was paying for all of it. Every indulgent purchase. Every ridiculous upgrade. All while they told people I lived in some dusty little apartment and talked to my houseplants like a batty old woman with delusions of grandeur. Well, they were about to learn something real quick. There's a reason you don't mess with a woman who keeps pruning shears in her purse. By the time the final night rolled around, I had everything in order. Right down to the extra lavender I requested for the centerpiece. Sabrina, naturally, wanted the evening to be a spectacle. She'd reserved the private greenhouse dining room, the most exclusive space at the inn, with floor-to-ceiling glass walls and a view of the moonlit garden that could make a poet weep. Sabrina waltzed in wearing a white jumpsuit with sleeves so long she kept dipping them into her soup, and Daniel was strutting like a rooster with his best loafers freshly polished. They'd invited a few couples they'd clicked with during their spa classes. Folks with names like Brinley and Camden, who all used the word curated more times than I could count. They were bragging all through the first course. Daniel, apparently, had an emerging art career, which is a polite way of saying he smears paint on canvases and hopes someone with a trust fund gets confused enough to buy it. Sabrina boasted about her upcoming fashion line, which, near as I could tell, consisted of expensive yoga pants and mood boards she copied from Pinterest. She described herself as a style visionary. I bit my tongue so hard I nearly needed stitches. And me? They seated me at the kids' table. Not metaphorically. Literally. A side table with 2 booster seats and a tiny vase of paper flowers. Now, I love Lily and Owen more than life itself. But I'd spent the entire week watching them so Daniel and Sabrina could go play house with strangers. And tonight, I was not about to cut someone's chicken nuggets while my family lied through their bleached smiles. Halfway through the entree, Sabrina leaned over with that smirking voice she uses when she thinks she's being clever. "Helen," she said, "why don't you take the kids out to the balcony? The adults are having a little wine talk." I folded my napkin with care, placed it beside my plate, and stood up. "Actually," I said, "I think it's time we all had a little chat." The room went silent. Sabrina blinked. Daniel froze with his fork halfway to his mouth. I stepped forward and looked right at their new friends. "I'm not just the gardener," I said. "I'm the founder and owner of Seaside Haven Inn. Every wall you've leaned against, every glass you've toasted with, every eucalyptus-scented towel you've dried your hands on mine. I built this place. And this little vacation of theirs?" I gestured toward Daniel and Sabrina. "It's officially over." Gasps all around. Sabrina opened her mouth, but I wasn't done. I pulled out the folder I'd brought with me. Thick. Organized. Labeled. "Here's the deed to the property. My business registration." A lovely little breakdown of over $35,000 in unauthorized charges made by these 2 on accounts tied to my name. Spa visits, designer shoes, influencer photo shoots, and a paint set Daniel wouldn't know how to use if it came with instructions and a YouTube tutorial. Daniel stammered something about a misunderstanding. Sabrina tried to laugh it off, called me dramatic. I let them fumble. Then I looked to the door. Right on cue, Detective Harris walked in, crisp and calm in his gray suit. "Evening, folks," he said. "I believe Mrs. Carter has something she'd like us to take a closer look at." And just like that, the dinner party turned into a reckoning. Sabrina went pale like skim milk. The kind of colorless that makes you wonder if they're about to faint, or just finally realize their free ride was skidding off a cliff. Daniel, bless him, looked like he'd swallowed a whole beehive. Eyes wide, face puffy, panic humming just beneath his skin. But it was too late. Detective Harris had the folder. And everything in that folder had a signature, a timestamp, and a paper trail so neat even my old accountant would have been proud. Fraud. Financial elder abuse. Unauthorized use of company accounts. They had dug their own hole. I was just there with the shovel and a copy of the ledger. Sabrina tried to laugh. Bless her heart. Said it was all a big misunderstanding. That the spa charges were business-related, because of her brand image. Said I had approved everything. As if I make a habit of handing over credit cards and saying, "Here, help yourself to $3,000 worth of crystal-infused lip balm." Daniel tried to deflect, mumbling about artistic development and emotional stress. Detective Harris wasn't moved. By the time dessert would have been served, they were being gently escorted out of the greenhouse by two uniformed officers and a very quiet assistant manager, who looked like she'd been waiting all week for that moment. Their keycards deactivated. Their luggage packed and delivered to the front gate. The luxury SUV they'd rented already towed for being charged to a company card. And those joint memberships they loved to flaunt, country club, wine collective, spa co-op, revoked immediately. Turns out when your name shows up on a police report tied to financial abuse, people don't want to sip Chardonnay next to you anymore. I canceled the credit cards before they'd even left the gravel drive. And the mortgage on their lovely little suburban two-story? The one I'd been quietly paying behind the scenes because Daniel claimed work was slow and Sabrina wasn't pulling an income yet? Cut off without warning. I didn't even bother to call. I just stopped the auto debit and sent the paperwork to Morgan. Within a week, their lender sent the first warning letter. By the end of the month, the house was listed for sale, with a real estate sign planted right between two sad-looking hydrangeas. It didn't take long for the rest to unravel. Sabrina's yoga brand, which had been all hashtags and filtered photos, collapsed. Turns out mindfulness doesn't sell well when folks find out you screamed at staff and lied about your in-laws. Daniel's art gallery gig, more of a favor than a job, truthfully, evaporated. I heard the owner said something along the lines of, "We don't need that kind of drama around the watercolors." Friends dropped them like overripe tomatoes. One by one. Even the couple they met at the retreat blocked them. Must have figured out they were a package deal, and not the kind that comes with a gift receipt. They went from spa treatments and sushi platters to coupon clipping and split-plate dinners. And me? I slept like a well-watered tulip for the first time in weeks. After the dust settled, and I mean really settled like a good spring rain washing away the mess, I found myself staring at a life I didn't expect. Quieter, yes, but more mine than it had been in years. I could have taken the experience and just buried it with the rest of my heartbreaks, like the box of love letters from my first high school sweetheart that lives in the back of my closet. But no, I wasn't going to let Daniel and Sabrina's betrayal be the final word. So I turned the pain into purpose. I used part of the business reserves, the ones that weren't drained by luxury spa treatments and fruit-infused water bottles, to start the Carter Creative Seniors Foundation, a nonprofit dedicated to helping senior artists, writers, and gardeners like myself rediscover their voice and purpose. We launched our first program right there at the very lodge where everything fell apart. And wouldn't you know it, those same greenhouse walls that heard me get called just the gardener were now covered in paintings, poems, and pressed flower collages created by folks who thought their best days were behind them. We held workshops, story circles, open mic nights where 80-year-olds got up and read their childhood journals or performed spoken word about growing up during the moon landing. It was glorious. A little weird sometimes, sure, but always beautiful. And I walked those greenhouses now with pride. My staff smiled differently around me, not with pity but respect. They saw the way I'd taken something rotten and composted it into something that could grow. I didn't hear from Daniel and Sabrina. Not directly. Morgan told me they moved to a much smaller town upstate. Sabrina was trying to rebrand as a vintage lifestyle consultant, which I assume means selling teacups online, and Daniel was back to painting in a shared workspace above a bookstore. I wasn't bitter. Not anymore. I just felt done. But then, 2 years after the dinner that changed everything, I got an email. It was an application to our summer retreat program, written in careful, slightly clumsy words by a teenage boy named Owen Carter, my grandson. He was 15 now and taller than I remembered. The application included a short essay, just 3 paragraphs long, but every word stuck with me. I know Mom and Dad were wrong. I know they hurt you. I don't want to be like that. I want to learn how to build something real. Like you did. I sat with that letter on my lap for a good hour, staring out at the garden. My eyes misted, not with sadness but hope. Maybe the seeds I'd planted hadn't all fallen on rocky soil. Maybe one had taken root. And maybe, just maybe, it was ready to grow. Owen visits every summer now. He shows up with his sleeves rolled, ready to dig, plant, repot, and ask questions. Real ones. Not the polite kind kids ask because their parents elbowed them, but the ones that tell you they're actually listening. He knows the Latin names for half the plants in the greenhouse now. Has a favorite pair of gardening gloves he keeps hanging in my office. Still drinks too much lemonade and always forgets sunscreen, but I remind him, gently. Like grandmas do. He doesn't ask much about his parents anymore. At first, he danced around it like tiptoeing across a muddy path. These days, he just calls it what it was. A mess. He's growing up to be a good young man. Steady hands, kind eyes, and a backbone I never saw in his father at that age. That boy makes me proud. Not because he turned out perfect, but because he chose to turn out better. Lily calls too. Not often. Just once in a while. She's still guarded, but she's starting to ask questions. Things like, did you really build the lodge from scratch? And, why didn't you tell Dad about your business? You can hear the curiosity bubbling under the surface. The little cracks in the story she was told starting to let in light. I answer honestly but not bitterly. I want her to find her own truth, not swallow mine. She deserves that much. As for Daniel, well, he sent me a letter on my 75th birthday. Plain white envelope. No return address, but the handwriting was unmistakable. Still a little slanted, like he was always in a rush to finish whatever he started. It wasn't long. Just a few lines. No excuses. No requests. Just, I know I messed up. I miss you. I hope one day I can make things right. But I understand if you can't let me back in. I sat with that letter for a good long time. Didn't cry. Didn't rage. Just sat there holding it between my palms like it might bite or bloom. Felt sincere. Will I forgive him? I don't know. Not yet. Forgiveness is a slow-growing thing. Like orchids. You can't force them. They bloom when they're ready, and not a minute before. What I do know, what I am certain of down to my gardening boots, is this. Family doesn't mean offering yourself up like a doormat and calling it love. It doesn't mean silencing yourself just to keep the peace at dinner tables where you're served side-eye in silence. Family is supposed to be safe. And if it isn't, you plant yourself elsewhere. You teach people how to treat you. With every yes, every no, every boundary drawn in chalk or stone. And if they still refuse to learn, well, you let them watch you bloom without them. And wouldn't you know it, I'm in full bloom these days. The greenhouse is thriving. The foundation is growing faster than the ivy on the back trellis. And this old woman? She's got dirt under her nails, strength in her spine, and peace in her heart. Not bad for someone they once called just the gardener.
Share your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever been underestimated by someone you love? How did you handle it? If you liked the story, subscribe to the channel and give us a like.